Welcome back to, what's the name of our podcast? This is what happens when Justin's not here. The Still Scrolling Podcast, the number one verified podcast in
Do you want to restart this?
the world.
Do you want to restart this?
No, let's just leave it like this. And then this is going to be the proof of concept as to why Justin cannot take vacation anymore.
Yes,
we need him.
You're right.
If
so,
at any...
so like we're not replacing him then. Oh.
You're absolutely right. Actually, never mind. We are replacing Justin, ladies and gentlemen. If you've been watching the first few seconds here, thank you for sticking around through that. That must have been painful. But we've got a special guest on the show today, the very first guest on the show. Her name is Daisy.
Hi.
Yeah, so Daisy, tell everybody who you are. Because you're definitely not Justin.
I'm not Justin, tragically. My name is Daisy Foko. I'm a content creator. My main platform is TikTok. I talk about history, fun facts, or really, honestly, if something comes up and it's normally something that freaks people out, it's too academic, I tend to break it down so that people know what's going on.
And that sounds quite like the snooze fest, ladies and gentlemen,
does.
but it's not.
But it's actually
not.
very interesting. I swear
Yes.
to fucking God.
It's very interesting because I'll get videos like that sometimes on my TikTok, and I'm like, because they'll catch you with like a headline or whatever, something that'll bring you in, and then you're like, oh, now I have to stay and watch this, even though it's like history or whatever, which I don't really watch history stuff, but it's like interesting.
You're like, now I'm learning. What the hell?
Yeah.
A cold open
Yeah,
got
I learned
me.
something new. Yeah. I didn't know I needed this until now.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It'll be like, I know about Hennons now.
Yes,
Do you know?
Derek does know about Hennons now.
Yeah.
What is Hennons?
Well, Chapel Rowan wore a Hennon at the Grammys. That cone hat,
Oh, okay.
that's a
Gotcha.
Hennon. And really, every era has a cone hat. And this, I had a whole video where that was my thesis, proving every era has a cone hat. And now we have our cone hat for 2025, thanks to Chapel Rowan.
It's back.
Interesting. I never knew that had a name.
Yep.
I literally was like texting my friend last night. I was like, all I can see is Chapel Rowan's pointy hat in the background.
Yeah. Technically,
Now I
birthday
know.
hats are Hennons too. Like, it's a
You're
thing.
right.
They're everywhere.
Yeah, it's
Very
fantastic.
interesting. It's like when people don't know what the name of the plastic at the end of the shoelace is, it's an aglet.
Yeah, exactly.
I learned that from Phineas and Ferb, and
Now you know
I've
forever.
known for like years now.
Mm-hmm.
It was like
Exactly.
something I didn't know I needed until I watched that episode. And now I'm always like, that's an aglet. That's an
Just say
aglet.
no.
I know. Just say
Fun
no.
fact, that's an aglet. That's
Yeah.
like the thesis of what I do. It's fun fact, that thing, it has a name and I know it.
Yep.
It's so
Have you
good.
ever hyperfixated on the randomest little detail about the universe? Well, so has Daisy, and that's her literal brand.
Yes.
I want to ask something real quick, because I think you're going to know the answer. You know how denim jeans have the little brass metal things?
Yeah.
What are those called?
Dude, what? I actually don't know. Do you know? Do
no.
you know?
No.
Oh my God, I need to know now. Wait,
Are you talking
no,
about the
I
ones on the pockets?
Yes.
Oh,
They're
God.
like they're like buttons where it looks like you're supposed to like attach another end of a button to it or whatever. Like
Yes.
I think
you know what I mean?
You can though. Like I know the purpose of them. I don't know what they're called. I know that when they first had them during the Industrial Revolution, people would clip things onto them for tool belts and shit like that. But I don't actually know what they're called.
There we go.
If somebody knows it's listening, definitely comment it.
Please tell me.
Somebody has to know, right?
Yeah.
They don't just have a name. What I want to know more than the name itself is who decides what they're called. Like the aglet on a shoelace,
Yeah.
or that little thing on the jeans. Who decides what the name is?
You know, it's almost always the manufacturer because it usually those things have an official name because someone had to make them and come up with the idea in the first place. But the manufacturer usually popularizes the name of that thing because when people get them delivered, that's who they see on the packaging, and then they just start calling it that.
Got it. So they get, what's that term called when that happens? Like with Kleenex or Band-Aid.
Right. Yeah, they get brand affiliation. And the
Right.
brand affiliation becomes synonymous with the product itself.
Right. Even though it's what is it? It's tissue paper. It's not
Yes.
Kleenex.
It's not
Right.
Kleenex, but now they're so interwoven in the tapestry of culture that it's the same shit to us.
They did it. Awesome. Anyway,
Gotcha.
back to the Grammys, which is what we're where we were supposed to start, and then we ran onto the Daisy Foko tangent of knowledge. Did you guys watch it? What did you guys think?
I did. I actually enjoyed the Grammys this year. I think it was the first year in a long time where I enjoyed every performance and award given and knew the artists that were given the awards to. And also, I didn't know who Doechii was, who won Best Rap Album, who is only the third female to win Best Rap Album in the 20 years that this category has been a thing. And I loved her performance afterwards. Also, I loved how they did the performances where they kind of like bled into each other.
Yeah.
For like it was like three artists that like bled into each other, and it was so well done. But hers was really like a standout performance, including Sabrina Carpenter's. Loved her performance too.
Yeah, it was really good.
I'm glad you brought her
Daisy,
up.
did you see? Did you end up watching?
Yeah, I did. I did watch. Especially, I really watched mainly for her because I've been following her for a pretty long time. I think like I want to say the first time I saw her was when she did like a Colors episode because I love Colors. And I was like, oh, this girl is good. Like, this girl's really good. Like, she's got the stage presence. And so her performance at the Grammys, I was very excited to see because I knew she was going to kill it. Like, she's always been good with performing. But I think that performance in particular gave people a little bit of like a Tyler, the Creator energy. That was
Yeah,
needed,
definitely.
you
Yeah.
know?
Also, the song that she performed, I saw a video today that somebody put it over one of the songs from Hamilton. I forgot which one it was, but they put it over like that instrumental, and it fit so well with it. And I was like, stop, the theater kid in me is loving this right now. Because I didn't know who she was, but now I absolutely love her.
I want to see that actually. I wonder if it's because she has triplets in there and so then it overlays nicely. That would be cool.
Ooh, maybe.
Like the Skylar sister song
No,
is what
no,
you're
it
talking
wasn't
about?
that song. Oh God, I don't know if I think I liked the video. I'll have to find it later, but it was one, and it was like not one where like they sang, one where they rapped, but I'm not sure which one it was. But it fits so
Like
well.
that's like literally 90% of Hamilton,
It's-
but okay.
I'm pretty sure I liked it. I'll have to find it. Maybe I'll show you later.
Yeah, send it over for sure. But yeah, I think the new artist this year almost felt like it was just the artist
Yeah.
for the show. Like it took me a second to realize like, oh, wait a second. This wasn't like all the categories. This was strictly just the new people. They just happen to be also in the other categories.
Yeah.
That's how well they did. And I remember that you talked about the performance where it was like the medley of all the nominees, and they kind of bled into each other, which was really good. But then they talked about when they went to give out the award, I realized that it wasn't just the people in the medley performance that were nominated. It was also Sabrina Carpenter. It was also Chappell Roan. And I think there was a couple others, but they all didn't perform in the medley. So I was, as much as I liked that Sabrina won that award, it was almost kind of disappointing because I just saw all of them perform back to back, like kind of with each other. I wanted all of them collectively to win it, you know?
Yeah.
So that was a little bit of a disappointment for me, for sure. But I mean, they all deserve it. I think that's the important part, for sure.
Yeah. I was really blown away with the new artists this year. Well, I mean, you've seen like last year how popular Chappell Roan and Sabrina Carpenter have gone. Billie Eilish as well has grown. So the new artists this year, it's funny because I don't really like listen to a lot of new music nowadays because like I'm like I just can't find anything interesting. But now I've been listening to a lot more new things, especially from those artists, and I'm absolutely loving it. And it just makes me feel good about watching the Grammys again next year because I haven't watched in like the last few years.
I'm just glad what's his name did flip. I was worried he wasn't going to do a flip.
Oh yeah, I don't know what's his name.
Are you talking about
Boom.
Kai Cenat on the red carpet doing
Oh,
a flip? Or are you
no.
talking about during a performance doing a flip?
Benson Boone. That's his name.
Yes, Benson
Oh,
Boone. He had the Harry Styles jumpsuit look
that was
going on.
cool. That was really
I
cool.
I
Yeah.
was not expecting that. I was like, wow, bro's really killing it. And then like on live TV, he just like picks his wedgie that's going on down there, like
Honestly,
after the
real.
performance.
Real of him for that.
It needed to be done.
He's like, I'm human. I'm human. I get a wedgie, guys.
Oh,
What do you
for
want me
real.
to what do you want me to do about it? But it was, I think, what also stood out, aside from the musicality of it all, obviously, this was, and I quote, the blackest Grammys in however long, and also like the most women present Grammys in a while. And I think that says a lot, especially considering where America is right now, outside of just the arts. It was almost kind of like, oh, we're doing a DEI, we're doing away with DEI. Well, the Grammys was like, we're gonna DEI even harder now, you know.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really cool. Beyonce, I think, is the second Black woman to ever win Album of the Year. Doechii, you mentioned she was the second or third?
Third
She's
woman.
the third.
Yeah, the third woman to ever win Best Rap Album. Like, that's really cool stuff, right?
Mhm.
Like, and I think it speaks a lot to how all music kind of is Black music,
Yeah.
right? Which is probably a controversial statement for a lot of people, and sounds a little bit weird coming from a podcast episode with three white people, but the even Shabuzi, like I think it was very intentional that he did a more like country rendition of the song instead of kind of like the more pop version we hear on the radio. And it's kind of like, and it's not just me. I've seen it online. People are saying like this is the most entertaining Grammys in the past decade,
Yeah.
and I have to agree.
Yeah.
If by
And
far
also Beyonce won Best Country Album for Cowboy Carter. And like this is her first time doing a country album. Girls from Texas, girls from Houston, like we were waiting for this moment to happen, right? And then she goes and wins Album of the Year. Like that's phenomenal. It's I think it's her first time winning Album of the Year too, right?
Yeah, she
Beyonce,
finally won
I
it.
know.
Yeah, she finally won it.
Yeah, so last
Yeah,
year,
Lemonade really. Everyone was like, "Oh, Lemonade should have won," but now is her chance.
last year was the year that Jay-Z was like, I'm gonna subtweet in my speech, my acceptance speech, about how my wife gets kind of, the what's it called, the short end of the straw or whatever. It's snubbed. That's the word. Thank you.
Yeah.
His whole speech was like 50% about how his wife has gotten snubbed year after year after year after year,
Yeah.
and then now this year, coincidentally, she wins Album of the Year, which I'm sure the conspiracy theorists love. I'm sure like the
They do.
anti-coastal elites, the non-sheep thinkers, I'm sure they're loving it. They're probably like, oh, look at this conspiracy, blah, 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 blah. But I think the album was good. I did happen to like the album before, the like disco party version of the
I feel like it was slept
Renaissance.
on. I feel like it was
Yeah.
really slept on. And honestly, I think it might have just been a little too layered for general consumers to like vibe with. Because I think it's something that you needed to listen to a bunch of times before realizing how good it is, which sounds weird. I know, like on the surface, it seems like you should listen to something and immediately be like, this is really good. But it's sort of like when you watch like a weird movie and you know it's going to be best on its third watch when you're actually looking for everything. I feel like the layers in that album, like at first could come off as very abrasive to people who are used to her old sounds because her old sound was a lot more stripped down. And so I could see that turning people off. And when I first heard it, I was like, oh, this is different. I don't know if I like this. But then I just kept listening and I was like, I actually really like this.
Yeah.
And I'm not a fan of the like dun 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 dun.
Yeah.
Dun. I don't generally like it, but I like it when Beyonce does it. So
Are you not a
it worked for
brat?
me.
Are you not a brat?
Please don't start. I don't know what that means.
Charlie XCX?
I know about Charlie XCX and I know about Brat. Those are the only two things I know about any of those two things.
Well, I mean, her album was literally like early 2000s, like clubbing music, EDM, that kind of vibe, right?
Oh.
So there's like not a lot of songs in the album as much as like a traditional album, I guess, and they're all like 2 to 3 minutes long, or whatever. So they're like short, but they're like pump your fist kind of music, right? And then she performed at the end of the Grammys last night, and just oh my god, I loved the vibes that she was giving. Like the clothing was like early 2000s clubbing clothing that you would see, or like 2010s especially. I would say mostly 2010s. And just I love that album. It's just so good because I was waiting for an artist to come out with an EDM album like that, just like a party album. And that's why I'm so excited for Lady Gaga's new album, where it's just all like dance music. But I want to touch up on this one thing from the Grammys because you brought up how like Beyonce's always been snubbed every year for album of the year and like other stuff. But another big thing that happened last night was the CEO of the Recording Academy, Harvey Mason Jr., publicly apologized to The Weeknd for not having transparency in their awards, and for the Academy being corrupt. And as soon as he like showed the tweets on the screen, I was like, he's about to bring The Weeknd out, isn't he? He's about to come out right now, especially because his new album came out on Friday, and I love The Weeknd. So I listened to that whole thing, and I absolutely love the new album.
Good.
Hurry Up Tomorrow. It's so good. The way they transition to each song, and like he actually made this album. He had his album set, right? Until the LA show where he lost his voice. And then the crowd started booing at him. This is his last tour. The crowd started booing at him and like being upset because he said, I couldn't sing. You know, I can't sing. I lost my voice, whatever. And he actually went off stage after that performance, stripped the album that he was working on, and started fresh. And this new album is kind of like a result of that night. And actually, one of the transition songs in the beginning of the album to the next one is I Can't Fucking Sing. And his mic was still recording when he went backstage. And the audio is literally of him yelling to like his crew, whatever, I can't fucking sing, blah, blah, blah. And it transitions into the next song. And it's so good. I love the pettiness of that. And I love that he just like implemented it in there. But he came out and he performed Cry For Me, which is one of the new songs on the album, and Timeless with Travis Scott. And I was so happy because he was absolutely snubbed for After Hours nominations when the album came out for the Grammys. I think it was like 2020 Grammys, I think. And he was snubbed for that. And everyone was so pissed, and he was tweeting about it or whatever. So I'm very happy he got to come back, and I'm really hoping that he does get some nominations for this new album for next year's Grammys.
Dude, he better. The new album's a work of art.
It's
honestly.
so good.
It's so good.
And the fact, if anybody listening who doesn't know or doesn't know The Weeknd, whatever. So this is his last album as The Weeknd, right? He's no longer going to be The Weeknd after this. He's just going as Abel Tesfaye. That's his actual name. And the end of this album, the last song, transitions into the very first song of his first album. It is so bittersweet, and just like his mind as The Weeknd and all his music is just so genius. And the way he did every album, every transition, it was all for a reason. So it was insane to me to learn that he did not get any nominations for After Hours, which I believe is still like one of his best album. I love After Hours. So I was shocked when I learned that information. But it's just so cool to see all this come together. And then he's having like this movie coming out for the album Hurry Up Tomorrow with Jenna Ortega and what's his name? Sabrina Carpenter's boyfriend. What's his name?
Barry
Keoghan.
whatever.
Yes.
Keoghan,
Yes. And I don't know when that's coming out, but I think there was a teaser trailer that came out like today or something. But yeah, I'm excited.
So
I think it's gonna be good.
So you like The Weeknd? It seems like you're a fan.
Absolutely. Am I going to buy tickets to his new tour? No, because money is going up. Price is going up. So I wish I could go to the tour, but I can't.
You need
Also,
your money
too.
for the eggs.
Need money for the eggs. Yeah, Beyonce announced her tour too, and everyone's like, Beyonce, We can't afford this right now. Don't start.
No.
She better do a
Absolutely.
European leg, honestly. Where the hell can go?
That's true. It's probably cheaper to go over there.
Yeah.
I bet it is. If
Yeah.
you can even get a passport right now, which it's
Right.
apparently a long wait.
Right. Or
Yeah.
not to be too dark here, if you even want to risk, flying over
True.
in the first
Maybe you
place.
can't get back in.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Well,
a
also-
touch and go situation day by day here.
Well, it's
It was
also
saying that-
like, I don't think a lot of people want to fly nowadays because the
True.
recent accidents that have happened. I've been seeing those, and I'm like, I won't be getting on a plane anytime soon.
It's
Not
stressful.
until everything is okay.
It's
Yeah.
stressful.
Absolutely. But you mentioned the Weeknd,
Mm-hmm.
and I think it's really cool. I didn't know that he's retiring the moniker. He's
Yeah.
going. He's pulling a Prince, I guess, right? But like in reverse, where he goes from like the gimmick name to the real name. But it seems like it was a pretty good night for enemies of Drake at the Grammys, right?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
I know that Abel is on the lower tier, right? He's like enemy adjacent. Is kind of just like not full blown beef. He's just kind of caught a couple
full-blown
strays.
There's full-blown beef, Derek.
In
The lore of
recent
the
times.
Weeknd and Drake,
Yeah.
could
Come
get
on.
into that for days.
Okay.
There is-
Okay, let me rephrase. They are in Cold War status. Okay, Drake has got bigger problems.
Drake
At
is
the-
doing open
moment.
mic nights. Have you seen that? He's doing open mic
I thought you were
nights.
kidding. I thought that
So-
was a joke.
So there is a few stories about him right now that are kind of going around. The one that I think is particularly very funny is that Drake is in Australia right now, and the timing couldn't be more funnier because Kendrick just won in one night the same amount of Grammys that Drake has for his entire career. Kendrick just won it for one song,
Mm-hmm.
and it happens to be the song that solidified his win in the beef,
Yep.
that also accused him of being a PDF file, while having the entire audience kind of sing the song for him as he walked up on stage to do it.
Yeah.
And then he also didn't mention Drake at all. He went the classy route with that
Oh, yeah.
acceptance speech. But everybody knows. Everybody knows
Actually-
what that.
Oh yeah.
I don't even think he was being classy by not mentioning him. I just think he was like, this isn't about you. You're not relevant enough to
Right.
be discussed.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Very true.
Yes.
Very
He
true.
was being classy
Yeah,
about
he was
it.
being classy in the way like Mariah Carey doesn't know who J-Lo is.
Yeah.
Correct. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love it. At this point, it's just, the dude's taking victory laps. But from the momentum of the fandom, really though, it's
Yeah.
not even, he's not even putting out any more songs. The album itself, GNX, is not anything about the beef. The Not Like Us is not on the album. It's just a song introspecting on like what it's like to be him. And he kind of hints at certain things and the power that comes with the pen and a person in his position and an artist like him. But he kind of almost moved on from it, which again makes it that much funnier that it has continued to stay
Yeah.
in the conversation, both because of Drake with the lawsuit, and I'm sure now there'll be another lawsuit aimed at the Grammys. Who knows?
Yeah.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
dude.
And then
Yeah.
we get another one at the Super Bowl on Sunday.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Drake's just going to be like petty the whole time. Like, how is he allowed to play the song, perform the song? Because he can. He's Kendrick, bro. And he won. He
it's
won this beef.
over.
It's over.
It's over and it's been
It's
over.
over.
Like, dude, every NFL game, because like my fiance is in the NFL, so I've been going to the games. Every NFL game has played Not Like Us, not once, not twice, not 3 times, at least 5 times per
Mhm.
game, whether you're winning or losing.
Yeah.
They are finding an excuse to loop that song. Like
Yeah.
every single weekend, it's done. It's done.
Yeah.
I just love how like the whole audience of the Grammys was just rapping the song. Because all of a sudden you heard A minor and everyone's just like holding it out like the whole. I was like, this is so good.
It's
I thought it
brutal.
was fake.
And
So good. No, I knew it was real. I saw the crowd. I was like, oh, they are Team Kendrick. All of
It
them.
was definitely real. People been hating on Drake in the industry for years. And beyond that, can we talk about the fit for the acceptance though? Because I don't know if you guys noticed, he was wearing a Canadian tuxedo, which is fucking hilarious.
That's
hilarious.
Funny. It's got like a double meaning now. That's hilarious.
It does. Like that you can't tell me that was coincidental. It definitely was on purpose.
That was like a last minute decision for him, for sure.
Absolutely. Just a twist of the knife.
Yeah.
No, I mean, it makes sense. He dressed up for the mass before the funeral, before you head out to the cemetery to bury a loved one. You dress up for it. So Kendrick dressed up for it, and then now next Sunday, will be the actual. I think that will be the lowering of the remains into the grave.
Yeah,
absolutely. It's
much
diabolical in the most incredible way. I love it. I've been a Drake hater for years. Sorry, Aubrey. But it's overdue, and I'm glad that it's come.
Yeah. He had me for a while.
I think his ghostwriters are good. I don't have a problem with like the music. I think they're all 40 of them are doing their job. My problem is just that like I hate the lack of authenticity. Like that's what kills me. Like there's so many artists where like they're not pretending to write everything. Like, and that's fine. And it has like zero impact on their career. Also, they're like, I love my team. We come out, we make a beautiful end result. I'm more of a vocalist, but I like to put in a couple lines here and there. I can respect that. I just don't like when someone pretends that it's all them when it's so Googleable. I think that's just embarrassing. And the secondhand embarrassment is honestly too much for me to bear. And then when we started getting Gangster Drake, we can't unsee Degrassi, dude. It's not for you.
Oh, Degrassi.
Damn.
Yeah.
We can.
Degrassi always comes up, and that's a major weak point for him.
It's the weakest. It's his Achilles heel.
Yes. Correct. I've mentioned it before on here, actually, that every celebrity has a persona, especially if you're in the hip-hop world, right? Like, 99% of that is a persona, right? Like, dude, we know you're not still shooting people or selling drugs.
At least I would hope, bro. Why are you a millionaire shooting people? Like, wrap
exactly.
it up.
Exactly.
You got out.
Yeah.
That was the goal.
Yeah, exactly. And sure, sometimes they do end up like back in court with those types of issues, and that just, if anything, speaks to their like authenticity and where they're drawing from, where they were, and how they can't let it go, like A$AP Rocky or whatever. But when it comes to Drake, like everybody has always known that this was never him.
Yeah.
Like Lil Wayne is on record saying, "Keep it Canadian." You know, rap about girls and partying. Don't be trying to like be a tough guy, be a gangster. And again, this is Lil Wayne saying this, not me.
Yeah.
And it just speaks to how far, in a bad way, like how far removed Young Money has become. Cash Money, Young Money, even down to the Super Bowl, right? When Kendrick got announced, all of a sudden, Nicki Minaj and Lil Wayne come out of the woodworks. I think Birdman said something too. And they're like complaining because it's in Louisiana and, why weren't they considered? Why wasn't Wayne up there or whatever? And it's just kind of like, guys.
Why wasn't Wayne up there? Why don't you ask Wayne and see how he responds? And then we'll know.
Listen to him talk.
Videotape it and upload it, and I think you'll have your answer.
Watch him on his latest, I don't know if it was his latest tour or something, but his performance is just like, oh, that is a person that is on drugs.
He needs to take a break, man. Like, if you told me 10 years ago Young Money was going to be going out sad like this, I would have actually stabbed you. I would have been like, you're lying. You're lying. Because back when Drake was singing, I liked when Drake was singing. And actually, what I don't understand about Gangster Drake is it didn't do more numbers than Soft Drake is the thing. So what, he wasn't making more money as Gangster Drake. There was no real benefit to Gangster Drake. Soft Drake is who he is, and it's who people resonated with. Like, people still will reference Marvin's Room as peak Drake.
Yeah.
And that's the most vulnerable Drake song. So it's like, let's get back to emotional Drake. That's where he does good. He even wrote that freaking, this is one thing he definitely did right. He wrote that Alicia Keys song that, where she's singing about like, about like cheating on her husband shit. Drake wrote that actually, and you can hear him in the background. And I'm like, Drake, you should be doing more R&B, dude. Like that's your lane, and people like you there. And I think if you dig down, you like yourself there too.
Yeah,
Let's just
There
keep
you
it
go.
there.
that's pretty much it. Yeah.
None of this would
Drake,
happen to you if you stayed over there.
Yep. He
we
would be in
will.
Australia right now. Like,
Exactly.
Okay, just to clear this up, he's touring in Australia.
oh, he's
not
touring.
just yeah,
I
yeah.
thought,
He's
bro,
not
he's literally just like.
hiding.
I thought you pulled up with a stool and a mic and just like.
no, he's touring, but apparently, from what I'm reading, he's not selling out. So I guess he's got free time, and that's why he's doing open mics type of deal. And it's kind of like, yeah, I'm connecting with the people, the culture, and doing community open mics. And it's kind of like, you're in Australia, dude. like,
Yeah.
like go to maybe where hip hop started and do that.
I didn't even
like
know he was on tour.
Yeah. That says
yeah,
a
it's
lot.
like European.
I didn't know
it's
he
like
was on tour either.
it's like Europe and Australia. It's like it's anywhere except the United States of America.
Yes.
Yeah,
Honestly,
and
I think he could save his career still. Unpopular opinions.
I think so, too.
Could. But I think
Yeah.
he would have to come back and go, well, that was embarrassing.
Actually, I think Justin said this like a
Mhm.
few podcasts ago. He's like, just drop one good song, and like you will have the people back. That's all he needs.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Actually, I know exactly what he should do. It just struck me like a
Do it.
bolt of lightning. He needs to come back and he needs to release a song called Humbled.
Oh my God.
And if he's just real as fuck on that song and just owns it all, I think people would respect it.
he could do it.
I think that's the answer.
Now, is that like a kind of like a spoof or like a feeding off of like Humble by Kendrick?
I think he just needs to be like, when I'll have a personal anecdote. In 7th grade, I was being bitchy to this girl. I was just in a bad mood. She beat the fuck out of me, actually, right after. And I was like,
Wow.
honestly, halfway through, I started laughing. Not because it didn't hurt. It did. And she stopped and she was like, why are you laughing? And I was like, honestly, I'm laughing because like I really deserve this right now. Like I was actually being such a dick for like no reason. And like you're actually so real for beating my ass. And we became friends. We were friends all throughout high school after that. So I think if he just has a moment like that musically, people could respect it. And so if he just came back to a serious song where he's like, honestly, that guy just bent me over and beat my ass. And you know what? Maybe I needed it. I think people would respect it and he could come back.
Yeah, that's a fantastic idea. I think that would work.
You know what?
It would too.
Yeah, you're not wrong. I think it's like a very not hip hop thing to do, because J. Cole apologized and took himself out of the beef, and people were giving him shit about it. But I think they would make the exception for Drake, and they'd be like, because they'd be like, oh shit, is this like personal growth that I'm seeing from this man? That like the
and they'd
feedback.
be like, you know what? That's what they were complaining that he didn't have was personal growth. So you know what? Okay, you were listening. I respect. And since he's not actually a G, it doesn't actually track for him to have a super G response. Like maybe he should just be super Canadian about it and be like, "Oi, thanks, man. Sorry, sorry." And then keep it moving.
I could see it. Yeah,
I would respect
I
it.
like it. Now the other side of that though is, will Kendrick accept the apology?
No, but he
I don't
doesn't
think he
need
would.
to.
Right.
He doesn't need
Yeah.
to, no.
He doesn't need to, and he won't.
Yeah.
He's an inspiration as far as being a hater goes. And that is not going to go away. He's going to hate him till he dies, I'm sure.
Yeah. The fact that like Kendrick is the biggest hater, swept his categories at the Grammys and looked like so cuddly on that stage. He looked adorable. Like
He
he
looked
was
so
like
cute.
shorter than everyone else, and like his fit was so cozy. I was like, this is the most like he's the most like hater kind of person, and bro looks adorable.
He was so cutie patootie.
Yeah,
He really
cutie
was.
patootie. Loved him.
He was very baby girl up there, and I love that
Very.
for him. As baby girl as a guy from Compton can get in that moment. And I think you're right. I think that he's never going to stop hating, and that's okay. And I also think that Drake has said over the years that he's an incredible manifester. And with that knowledge, maybe he shouldn't have said, Kendrick just opened his mouth, somebody give him a Grammy right now. Maybe we should have thought about that.
Yeah.
Lessons to be learned.
You sure about that?
You sure about that? You sure you want to put that in the
about that?
universe?
Yeah.
Well, now what?
Yeah, you need to manifest your career back, dude.
Honestly.
For real.
Manifest apology.
Manifest some self-awareness. Okay, but going back to the lawsuit thing though, do we think he learned his lesson with the UMG lawsuit, like the blowback from that, or do you think he's still gonna keep on with these things?
I think he's going to keep on with them, but I think he's probably learned the lesson of putting his name on the lawsuit. I think he's going to try and file these through like an LLC or something that doesn't have his actual name
Try and
on
hide
it.
Try and owns.
Yeah, just so it doesn't make it into like mainstream news right away, you know? Or it's like a more of a stretch, like people who understand the way the law works would only understand that it's directly coming from him. Whereas like fans could very easily get confused and be like, no, this is from his parent company. It's not him, it's his team. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a legality. He's just protecting his assets.
Yeah. I think he's probably learned to do it that way.
I could see that. I would love to see the Grammys get sued for this. But specifically because Drake will lose. Because if somebody found the footage when Kendrick won, somebody found the footage of Dr. Dre, and he sees, like, a few aisles away, the UMG president. I don't know his name, but they see each other, and they're like, they high five, or they dap it up, and it's like, oh, they're in on this. Like, they're ready. I think, to just pay whatever needs to be paid to just get this done, because it's
to
like
just wrap it up. Yeah. It's
So
also just like, you never really get anywhere suing an institution like the Grammys, because at the end of the day, it's like, this is an award given out by a random company that we've all just arbitrarily given value to. Like, they don't have to, they're not like a legal entity. They don't have to follow fair is fair. They could just decide every year to give me a Grammy for nothing, and they're allowed to do that. You know what I mean? Because it's their business. I mean, people would probably stop caring about the Grammys. It would probably lose all merit, but like they can do whatever.
Yeah, especially after this year too, that they actually, I feel the Recording Academy got it right in a lot of in every category, really. Right? Yeah. And we never circled back to Beyonce or wrapped up that conversation. Do you think it was a country album? You think it deserved that category?
I think so.
Yeah, right?
And I think I think a lot of people misunderstand what the ranking system is for the Grammys, because a lot of people were bringing up the numbers, and like compared to other people in the country space who have been huge headliners in that genre for years, it's not performing the same way that they are. But that's not like the point. I mean, we look at charts to see who is succeeding in the numbers, and if everything went on numbers, Billie Eilish would have won every single category for everything ever. You know what I mean? So numbers aren't the most important thing, but with the album, not only was it definitely like country in sound, but also like, although maybe people with certain color hats on don't want to agree with this, like country is originally Black music. And so it's really just going back to like the original like African folk music that was being played with like front porch guitars, where people would put strings on their actual patio from like the ceiling to the railings and play that way. That's how we started there. We got to the banjo, you know, and that was something that only enslaved people were doing. You weren't seeing white people stringing their front porches like that until after that. So like, it has a lot to do with like cultural significance. It has a lot to do with messaging. She brought up a lot of other Black country artists through that album, which was super cool to see. So I think in terms of like impact, it's undeniably the best one.
Yeah, I actually really enjoy seeing more Black country artists, because I feel like country is just very whitewashed, right? And we kind of need to bring that culture back where country originated from. And so that's why one of the reasons why I'm very happy that Beyonce did a country album, and Shabuzi performed the song, like country song. Like I you never nowadays you don't expect like a black artist to perform a country song, right? It's always like a white person. But like I'm loving that they're bringing this culture back, and well, not bringing it back. They started it, but like they're coming back to
They're reclaiming it. Yeah.
they're reclaiming it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I think
Yeah,
it's super cool.
I think what a lot of people miss too is the way the voting works too. Like it's
Yeah.
not just, oh, the Recording Academy, the shadowy elite are just choosing who they want to put in the front of their agenda for the year. Like, no, these are people like the Oscars. They vote based off of the category. So it's like you've got the country artists or the country involved people voting for the country music winners, right? And then for the bigger awards, right, like Record of the Year, Song of the Year, Album of the Year, that's the only one that the entire Academy votes for. So it's kind of like these are the authority, these are the people involved, and they're voting for her to win this. So it's not like, just because you don't like the album or you don't happen to think it's country doesn't mean that's the case.
Yeah.
I also think country Beyonce is here to stay. So if you you hate it, get over it, because she's not going anywhere. And I think not only does she want to be doing this genre, but I also think it's a strategic move, just because you don't really see a lot of artists succeed in the hip hop space as they age out, especially women. Whereas the country genre, that's one of the few genres where there's not much of an age cap there. Like Dolly Parton is going strong, and she will be going strong until she decides to stop singing, and same for men in country space too. Hip hop, especially for women, gets very cruel very quickly if you keep performing after a certain point in your career. And so I think it's the smart thing for her to do. And I also think it's a passion project for her. So get over it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Totally.
And she even said like artists should not be afraid to jump to different genres. Like if you are passionate about it, if you love it, then give it a shot,
Yeah.
And
why not?
I also love that she didn't bring up the haters. She did the same thing as Kendrick, and it's I'm sure part of it is like they can't. If Kendrick got up there and was just like, Drake, you suck, whatever, like he'd face. I think people would kind of be like, oh, that's not the move. Same thing with Beyonce. If she got up there and if she rightfully so said, fuck you guys for treating me the way you guys treated me over this album, look at where I'm at now, I'm winning, she'd face backlash for it. But I just think that's classy of them, to just kind of go up there and accept the award and say, I am the winner, F you guys, without saying it, really.
Yeah. Well, because they don't really need to say it, because it's like, everyone in the comments is going to say it for them, first of all. And secondly, it's like, then they get to bask in the moment and truly enjoy it instead of having to deal with the backlash that comes, which there's already enough backlash whenever anyone wins anything, because there's always people who are like, well, I thought this person should have won instead. And that's a normal part of it. So you don't necessarily want to give people more ammunition.
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of like I hate to quote Kanye here, which, by the way, Kanye on the red carpet.
I was literally going to mention that earlier.
Can't believe we haven't talked about that.
Yeah, it's but just to wrap up Beyonce and Kendrick, them winning, it's kind of like, everybody asked me what I would do if I didn't win. I guess we'll never know, and they get to bask in the glory of it. Anyway, Kanye showed up at the Grammys uninvited, and he says that he was not escorted out. He says that he was just there for the red carpet vibes.
Yeah.
And he had his his wife,
Bianca.
show up in a fur coat, what everybody thought was just like wearing a fur coat, and from one second to the next she takes it off and she's effectively naked.
She is naked. There's
There's like a
sheer sheen that she wears, but I
didn't want to. I did not consent to it. Someone posted on the story.
Literally, like every time I see this woman, it's just there's no consent. She's just nude. Out of like, I don't ask for this. I didn't want this.
My fiance was like, "Are they getting arrested for flashing?" And I was like, "No, they're not going to arrest her for flashing. I mean, you could make a case, but it's not going to happen."
I was like, how has she not gotten arrested for like public indecency? Because there was that time where they were in Italy, right? And they were on that boat, and
that time they got caught. Italy does not play with that kind of stuff unless you're on a nude beach and you're nude in the right places. We have a place for that.
Yeah.
Don't be doing it over here.
Yeah. And also, like, there, like, some people brought their kids to this event, or some kids are watching this show, or like, come on.
I think if I give it all of the benefit of the doubt, at the very best, it's a form of shock art, which I think is the cheapest form of art. And therefore, I don't give it much credit anyway. You know, it's like that guy in the early 2000s who had a bunch of blenders in an exhibit with goldfish in them to see if anyone would blend any. Of course, you're going to make headlines if you have people come in and some psychopath blends the goldfish. But what is your art actually saying? Some people suck. I think we know, you know? And so it's kind of a cheap form of art. With the Kanye stuff, it's like, well, I knew this would get people's attention. Duh. What? There's no deeper message here. Great. This art lacks depth for somebody who shows a lot of depth in other areas of their artistry, which just kind of emphasizes the cheapness of it. And that's giving it all the benefit of the doubt. Whereas there's a lot of people rightfully saying this seems like a very unhealthy, kind of scary situation. And I'm inclined to feel like that's fair. I mean, of course, we're armchair psychologisting this couple, but like, it does feel weird. It is creepy that she looks a lot like his ex-wife, who he didn't want to be naked, and now she's always naked. That's strange and creepy in and of itself, let alone like the fact that she looks pretty uncomfortable all the time. Maybe she's getting paid to do it. Maybe part of it is for her to look uncomfortable. But even then, what's the messaging there? Why should we want that? Why should we like that? I don't like it.
Also, like, he has kids. I wonder what his kids think about this. Like,
and the whiplash, because you know that like in 2 weeks he's gonna be like manic posting about Jesus, and it's like, dude, which, like, what is it here? Are you the dude who shows up on the red carpet uninvited with a naked wife that is very much, you could tell you made her do it, or are you like the anti-porn and, you know, pro Jesus, God is king type of gospel artist that he sometimes is? It's really weird.
He also posted on his Instagram story like a few weeks ago, was it? Of like her body or whatever. It was like a very close-up image of her body, and like everyone was shocked. It was all over the internet.
I feel like we're all suffering under Kanye West's porn addiction every time they leave the house, personally, and like, I'm sick of it, firstly. And secondly, it's just like, all right, like, I'm all for the naturalist movement. I'm very free the nipple. I think if you want to be naked all the time, I don't care about that. I think it's fine to be body neutral. Austin is a city where you can be topless. I used to do that all the time when I lived there because I don't care about that kind of thing. But that's also within the realm of the rules that people who live there have agreed to. So there is an element of that where it's like, at the Grammys, people didn't agree to see a lady's labia. And I think we all knew that going in. So there's that element of it, but also it stops being a message of like naturalism and somebody being comfortable in their own skin when there's somebody who's always in baggy clothing, quietly scowling in the background while they do it. Because now it turns into a weird accessory situation. The composition of that is rife with discomfort in a way that it wouldn't be if she just showed up by herself and decided to be naked, which would still be controversial, but it would just be controversial in a very different way.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I saw somebody had posted about like, it has to be that he has something on her, or he has, you know, the joke was that like he has her family held hostage or something like that. But I think it's sadly much worse than that. And it's that she is consenting on some level, but should she be? Is she like mentally capable of actually giving consent? Because I don't think so, you know. And I could be wrong. I don't know her, obviously. I'm just like a random guy on the internet. But it doesn't give the right vibe from an outsider looking in. Similar to Julia Fox with back when they were together, right? It was a lot. And you look at her now, she had a kid and she's just kind of like chill with her life. And you could tell like, she wasn't, and I think she has spoken on it about like her time with him and all that stuff. And it's kind of like, he latches onto these women that he can use as the accessory. You know, it's instead of the wallet chain, you know, it's just like that, my wife for the time being.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, Julia Fox was in Charlie XCX's performance. She
Yeah.
said "Happy Birthday, Julia Fox" after. I was like, no way. I love this for her.
Julia Fox is cool, and she has talked about it. She said it was really controlling, and even at the Grammys, she wore like a bikini with like, you know, pantyhose over it, but like that's completely different because that's what she wanted to wear. You know what I mean? Like, and when she looked a lot more comfortable when it was just her deciding to wear that, and she did dress that way pre-Kanye than she did in some of the situations with Kanye, because there's just a whole different element when somebody else is collaborating with you, is the best way to phrase it, on something like that. But also, I just feel like Julia Fox is a cool girl, and I'm glad that her 15 minutes have actually turned into a career.
Yeah.
Yeah, same here. You like to see them thrive after like
Yeah.
maybe getting off to like a weird start or a rocky start.
Yeah.
But switching gears here, I've spent the last like 15 minutes just trying to think of a good segue, and I don't have one. So I'm just gonna move away from the Grammy story.
Justin's gonna be listening to this. He's gonna be like,
He's gonna
"You
be
are a
pissed.
disgrace."
He's gonna be so pissed. He's gonna be like,
I
"How
can't believe
dare you?"
I left this in the hands of you guys.
Yeah, Justin typically does the segues, Daisy.
He's
yeah,
a
and he's good at it.
natural.
He's good. He's they're not always great ones, but at least he has them.
Yeah.
Unlike me, which
He
I'm
says
just
them confidently.
yeah, exactly.
Right.
That's the delivery's there for sure.
Yeah.
But typically we'll talk about like a couple other stories. But this week is kind of dry outside of like what is it that Jaden Smith says, the geopolitical social climate of
State
the
of the
world.
world.
Yeah. We don't really want to dive into that this week just because it's a lot. So instead, we thought we would talk about fucking patents. How do they work? How do they work? Yeah, and we just so happen to have a special guest that is a patent expert because you have some, right, Daisy?
I do, and I was a patent illustrator for years as well.
Like, that's so impressive to me. And I know that you're going to be like, it's actually not that impressive. You're going to be very humble about it.
It was all right.
Yeah, it was all right. Yeah. But tell us a little bit about that. What goes into a patent? Why did you get into it? What if I wanted to get into it? What would I need to do? How does it work?
Right.
Tell us.
So the threshold for entry with patents it's incredibly high. So a lot of people get...
Hold on. Just because I know what a patent is.
Oh,
but,
right.
But some people listening might not know. So go ahead and...
Okay.
I mean, I know what a patent is, but like the process of it.
Me too. I just don't... Yeah, I need a definition.
When you come up with an idea, whether it's like a process, like a conveyor belt, the way things go down it, or it's the machine itself, the belt itself. Those are two different things that you can basically have paperwork done on to prove like, hey, this is my idea. If other people want to use this idea, they have to pay me a fee so that they can use it. And it's exclusively your idea for 25 years. After that, it goes into the public domain. Anybody can use it without having to pay for anything. And so it's basically just a way to make sure that like you get credit for your ideas. And a patent is an application that you file to the government of your country. There's no such thing as an international patent. You got to go country by country. And the government will decide if your idea is actually original or not. And so they'll go through as literally the whole world, like any and all information they can find. That's why it takes years to see if anybody else has come up with this idea before. And if they have, you don't get the patent. And if they haven't, you do. So basically, the way that you get a patent done is it's generally very expensive. So when people hear patents, they get really demoralized. Someone will come up with a great idea. They'll be like, oh, I want to make sure I get a patent for this idea. I could make millions of dollars. Then they look it up and they find out it's like $25,000 to $50,000 to get a patent. And they're like, I'm going to die. I'm not doing that. But there is a way to get around that. And a lot of people don't realize it. It takes more work. It takes more time, but it is free. And so I always tell people, if you want to get a patent, but you don't want to spend an insane amount of money, you can write your own patent. And if you write your own patent, it's probably going to get rejected a few times because you have to write it in a specific way, like there's jargon associated with it. But you can submit as many times as you want. So you could get rejected 50 times. It doesn't matter. Just keep sending in a rough draft until eventually they go, all right, that's good enough. So that's what I always recommend people do. If you have an idea and you don't want to pay out the ass, there's people who get their patents through that way. I didn't pay for my patent mainly because, I mean, I paid the fees, but I didn't have to pay like the $20,000 fee. I just paid the filing fees. My dad's a patent attorney, so that helps a lot. Huge privilege there. And because of that, I worked under him as a teenager doing patent illustrations. Most inventors can't draw. For a patent, you have to draw in a very specific way. And so it has to be black and white. Your vertices have to connect perfectly. It can't be sloppy. They're really annoying about it. And so I learned how to do that. So for my patents, I did all my own illustrations. And then my dad taught me the way that you write patents. So we sat down and went through it all together. So now I know how to do it. And he overlooks them, goes in, edits them. It's not like me just typing it in and sending it. That would be awesome. I'm not that good. I'm not a patent attorney. But you can totally do that. I know other inventors who have done that, and it just takes a long time. So like that's the poor man's way into getting a patent that could potentially make you millions of dollars.
That's very impressive. Oh my gosh. So what patents do you have then?
So I have 2 patents currently. I one of them actually just got published in September of 2024, so I can finally talk about it. And I have several more that are pending. So what I like to focus on is mechanical and biomedical. So biomedical is stuff that has to do with your body. So patents for devices that go inside, like say you get open heart surgery, they put a port in there or something. That's a medical device. Somebody has a patent on that from some point in time, or me, my spine is metal. The screws in my back, somebody has a patent for them. And the rods are called Harrington rods after this guy Harrington who patented them. So that's biomedical stuff. Mechanical can be anything from like your phone to like a new type of wrench or like a ball bearing. Like it's very overarching. So my first patent is for a tube of lipstick where the wax is drugs. It's dab wax that goes inside of it. So
Hell
since
yeah.
it's a tube, it's childproof in the same way that like a normal medicine bottle would be. The bottom has a grinder in it. You put the wax out, take it, stick it in the bottom. The bottom of the lipstick's an incinerator. You can use the cap to cut how much wax off you want. And it has 4 filters so that you don't have to worry about getting a ton of resin in your mouth. And you can actually unscrew the wax and put the pipe part itself into your dishwasher. It's machine washable. It also has a carbon filter lining. So in an x-ray, it looks solid. So you can put flour in there if you want. That's actually something I'm not liable for because that's a you decision. And in addition to that, I think I forgot something. Oh yeah, it comes with an incinerator option so that you can either choose to smoke flour out of it, like a traditional piece, or you can choose to incinerate the wax and hit a dab. And it's also odorless, depending on what filter choice you use for the wax. In addition to that, you can customize it.
God.
You can make it attached to a chain. You can change out whatever metal you want. You can put whatever different types of dab wax you want. Even if you're not like a weed person, you could do melatonin wax. You could do nicotine wax. The wax is pretty much interchangeable. You could do lavender wax if you're trying to get over smoking and you don't want to be smoking anymore. So that was my first patent, which is very something a 20-year-old would come up with.
Yeah. That is so impressive. Oh my God.
It hits about the same as a bubbler for anybody who does drugs. So it's a stronger hit than like a J or a blunt would be. And I did make a prototype and bring it to college because I came up with this invention when I was on bed rest recovering from surgery, actually. And then I spent like the 6 months while I was waiting to go back to school in my garage building it. So by the time I went back to school, I had a prototype for it and I got a bunch of people at college to test it out. I have video testimonials of them that are really funny of being like, all right, alpha test. Let's see. Tell me what you think. That I still have on my phone. I took it very seriously and it has rave reviews so far because it does hit very hard. My second patent is for a piece of technology that goes into your ACL. When you tear your ACL, that tendon is one of the only soft tissue tendons that doesn't organically reconnect. So like if you were like a caveman, you tore your ACL, that thing is torn forever. Good fucking luck. It's over. Whereas like if you tore something else in your legs, it would probably reconnect on its own and you would be fine after a couple weeks, maybe a couple months, worst case scenario. So the Harvard project found out that you can trick it into reconnecting if you wrap it in cotton and inject some of the patient's blood into the cotton. It makes it think that it's tenuously still connected and then it just regrows around that connection that it thinks that it has. So during COVID, this is when I worked on that one. I was reading that research and I was like, this is really interesting research, but the way in which they're attaching this cotton kind of sucks. They just took a needle and thread, did like a figure-8 shape. And I think that's terrible and not very stable. But I love the core concept of the idea. So I came up with a little Chinese finger trap kind of design that your body can eat and dissolve, like dissolvable stitches. It has little sutures that have barbs on the inside so you can inject human growth hormone. And then because it can bend as you move, you can go back into physical therapy, start bending your knees, start walking on it a lot earlier instead of just having to sit with your leg elevated for a long time.
Damn. That is like, I feel like now what I do is just child's play.
What?
Like
Yeah.
like
I feel like a failure.
I feel like a fail. I'm a disappointment. Like, I don't know.
Oh, yes.
I will never have a
What
patent,
if-
let alone biomedical engineering people's
Yeah.
ACL.
You know,
Nope.
like at
Nope,
20
I can tell
years
you.
old, at 20
Nope.
years old, I was really just like, what is my future? I don't know what I'm doing with my life. I'm having a panic attack. That was me at 20 years old.
That's
You
me
here,
now.
you have a
Existential
panic.
dread is
You have a
eternal.
patent.
That's okay. It's totally fine.
You're like, that doesn't stop. That never
Yeah,
ends.
It never
Like,
stops.
Yeah, no. See, we're here doing a podcast, and you're over there having patents. And
Listen, I forget I have them sometimes is the thing also. I have really bad imposter syndrome. Honestly, I would be nowhere near, I wouldn't have as many accomplishments on paper as I do if I had more friends. And so actually being like a really nerdy teenager to like early 20s did benefit me in that regard. So you may have just had more of a social life and been developing wonderful lifelong memories and friendships while I was in my garage, like soldering by myself.
Derek's like, no, I had no friends. So,
I didn't have friends either.
Oh,
I had friends, but like my brain don't work like that, unfortunately.
that is okay. It is totally fine. There's other ways to bring value to society.
Right, truly. And now I get to read books on my Kindle before I go to sleep at night.
Fuck yeah.
And immerse myself in a fantasy world.
As you should.
Hell yeah.
I literally read webtoons before I go to sleep every single night.
Hell
I
yeah.
love webtoons.
I don't know why I don't know why this reminded me of it, maybe the name, but I was like, yeah, I played Webkins as a kid.
Actually, webkins.
I loved. You said webtoons. I'm like, oh my god, Webkins.
I have no idea what that is.
It's a game where you buy these like stuffed animals and you can register them in this game and like take care of them and like have a life with them whenever like shopping. You know, it's like
It's like a
Yeah.
Tamagotchi with way
It's-
more
yeah.
steps.
Internet Tamagotchis.
Yeah.
Got it. That's cool. Back to patents though, because if I can't have my own patents, I'm gonna at least hate on people that have patents. Terrence Howard a few months ago went on this whole like, I've got patents, I'm changing the world, I'm reinventing the way people think of math. My evidence of this is these patents and this like Revit, AutoCAD simulation or whatever it is that I made. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because that seems like just more bullshit. So
it is sort of bullshit, but it's really lucrative bullshit. And so I'll
Okay.
explain what I mean by that. So like Terrence Howard, he did something interesting that like really, if you have money to just throw away at something, like this is a great way to get super rich like 20 years down the road. So what he did is he created a bunch of overreaching patents in the AI space. So when AI was super new, there wasn't a lot of borders to what is and isn't like an insanely vague concept because AI was so new. So with that in mind, he was able to file these patents, which at the time fell into the non-obvious category. And so non-obvious is what the patent office likes. Like if you come up with an idea like, here's my patent for lemonade, they'll be like, no, fuck you. That's really obvious, idiot. And so since like AI was like just newly emerging and there wasn't a lot of information on it, he could have, as an example, made a patent for like an AI that has a chat box attached to it. Now everyone would be like, duh, like that's like every AI ever it has an interface where you can talk to it. Like that's not an original idea. But because AI was so new and people weren't sure what it was going to do or like how it would work, it's actually like still technically a non-obvious idea if you go back far enough, you know? And so he has a bunch of patents that are super overreaching like that. And so what can happen when you have an overreaching patent is like sometimes the patent office will take it away from you, but that almost never happens. So what really happens is that every company that wants to use that just buys you out for a fuck ton of money. And it doesn't really have anything to do with you having this super incredible like insight into AI so much as it is like you just kind of thinking of things that could foreseeably happen in the future and patenting it without knowing how to make that thing happen yourself. So like that's a common misconception about patents. You can technically patent something that you have no idea how to make and just patent the concept. And so then later when someone figures out how to make it, they have to buy it out from you. Most people would never file a patent for something they don't know how to make because it's so expensive. And generally, you only want to file a patent for something you think you're immediately going to get some returns on within the next like 10 years or so. So the only people who can really afford to do that are usually major corporations that's their whole business model is to just buy really vague patents so that industries that need that tech later will have to buy them out for the concept, even though they don't have any real tech to back it up. Or rich people like Terrence Howard, who have enough funds to sort of patent troll like that. So like some of his ideas are more niche than others, and like that's cool, but a lot of his ideas he doesn't actually know how to execute in reality. They're just sort of like vague concepts that he got protected, which in its own way is a smart business move, and he's probably going to make a ton of money, but it's not smart in the Tony Stark sort of way so much as it is smart in like a sort of like a Joker trickster kind of way.
So that's why he didn't come back for Iron Man 2.
Yeah.
They're like, we gotta let you go, man. You got too many patents, and
too many
you
patents.
don't know how to make them.
Everyone feel insecure. I don't know. So yeah, he's smart in that way. Like it's strategic to look at something that's emerging like that and be like, I bet there's a bunch of vague stuff that'll probably come into play with that and protect those ideas. But most people just don't have the capital for it.
And what's going on with the drone stuff? Because he's always like talking about like the drones, the tetrahedron drone systems or whatever he's talking about. What is that?
With the drone stuff, I don't have anything to back this up. This is just like speculation because like patents are not like a fun read, to be honest. So like I skimmed most of his patents just because like they have to be phrased in like a really non-narrative way. With the drone stuff, from what I can tell, a lot of his concepts were things that already were in existence in China and patented, and they never got patented here because China has had this policy since like the 90s of not sharing military adjacent tech with America. And so that mainly protected things like drones. And so since they weren't going to give us their technology at any point in time, there was no real reason to patent that in America because they're not sending it over here. So they don't need a patent over here. And so a lot of his drone ideas, I think, are just things that other countries had already had patent protected. And then he also got patented just somewhere else. And that's something when you have an invention that gets really big, that is a real problem that can arise. Like, for example, my best friend's dad invented the fleshlight, the toy. And obviously it's very popular. The #1 male sex toy in the world. And so Steve originally only had a patent for that in America, but as it gets more and more popular, a lot of people in Asia are ripping it. And the only way he can get money from that, he can't sue people in Asia for ripping it unless he has a patent in Asia for it too. So as you start making money, we're ripping it. So as you start making money, you have to start systematically going through like major countries where you think you have a big consumer base and patenting it there and there and there and there, and that costs a lot of money too because you got to get translators to sort of like get it all done and everything like that. So that's something that's only really worth it if your invention's gotten pretty big. And so if you don't do that or you don't have a reason to do it, like in the case of these drones, somebody can get there first, and that's why you see a lot of in like India or Asia, there's still a couple of things that are fleshlight adjacent that haven't been sued off the face of the earth because they simply beat Steve to it.
Damn, Steve was sleeping on that India market. Yeah. Isn't India's like the largest? He's pretty good at...
It is the largest populace. He's pretty good at like getting all of he's the most patent protected inventor I've ever seen in real life. But still, it just goes to show that like some markets will beat you there if you don't have enough capital quick enough. And that's an invention that he made a lot of money pretty fast. But still, year one, he only made $8,000. So that's not enough to justify getting a patent in China. And so Terrence Howard, he could have gone in and gotten these American patents because nobody was interested in getting Chinese patents translated over, honestly. So like, I'm not saying that's what he did, but that's something a lot of people do. And given his other patent trolling ways, it would be within the realm of reason that he could possibly be doing things like that.
Interesting. And I did not expect this conversation to go anywhere near the realm of fleshlights. So that
no one ever does.
No one ever does. This isn't the first time.
It's not. It has been coming up for 2 decades because we've been friends for a long time.
Is that like one of your go-to icebreakers? Hi, nice to meet you. I'm Daisy. My best friend's dad invented the fleshlight.
Oh, God. Like, she wouldn't kill me, honestly. It's usually something that, like, we'll be somewhere for, like, a while. We've been talking to someone for a couple weeks. Like, maybe we're making a new mutual friend. And then eventually it's like...
You're just like...
It's time. We're going to have to...
Yeah.
I can't hold back anymore. I have to say it.
We're going to have to tell them. And then she's like... I know. And I'm like, if they go to your house, they're going to know something is up. She's like, I know. Because in middle school and high school, whenever people would come over to do school projects with us and stuff, her parents are crazy rich, obviously, because of this invention. So my parents, they didn't ask what her dad does more than once because the first time her parents were really cagey and weird about it because it was the first time I went over to their house and they didn't want to lead with that. So they were just like, oh, like, I am a businessman. And so my parents thought her dad was part of the Russian mob because he's a huge Russian guy. And they left me there. They were like, I trust it. They didn't care. It took them like a year and a half to figure out what he actually did. And then my dad's a patent attorney. So he was like, oh, that's you. It's something. I've looked over that patent before.
He's like, that's you. I mean, what is that?
I'm a big fan. No, literally. And so, like, it always would end up coming up eventually where I'd be like, it's time. And she'd be like, I know.
Damn.
That's really funny. If I had the information, I'd be like, I just got to tell them on the first day. I just got to tell them. It's just too good to keep in, you know?
You would think, but when you're in middle school and high school, then you've condemned yourself to, like, every boy at your school constantly asking for one. And then being weird about it and being like, so you're a freak? What's up? And then you're like, oh, go away. Or when people would come to her house, they'd be like expecting it to be covered in like weird shit or something. And then it's just
everywhere.
Like a house. Yeah, it's just like a pretty house, you know? And they're like, I am so shocked that there's not giant dick columns here. And it's like, would you want to live with a house that has giant dick columns? Probably not.
Yeah. They're like, where's the inventory? I thought there was going to be more inventory.
I thought it was going to just be lying around everywhere. And it's like, no.
Now, does your friend's dad have like a frame, like a copy of their patent, whatever, in their office, whatever, with the image?
Honestly, maybe at his office. I haven't actually been to his office, but I will say that their factories are routinely rated for having like the best human rights conditions and like paying the workers really well and stuff. So like, I love that for them. But they do have a factory in Austin. I've never been to it. So maybe if he has it framed, it's there. His home office, he doesn't. At least like last time I was in there. I don't go in there that often, but last time I was in there, I don't think that he had it framed in there. But I could see it definitely being framed at his office.
Good for him.
Yeah.
Love that.
He's a really nice guy. They're a great family.
Yeah, it's very much like a moral quandary, right? I mean, for me it wouldn't be. I'd be like, let's get that money, right? But like, I can imagine, when was this, like what, 20 years ago, 15 years ago?
It was exactly 30 years ago.
Exactly 30 years ago. There you go. So, you know, in terms of like sex positivity and like what's okay and what's not okay, I'm sure he probably had to deal with a lot of stuff that like wasn't the best.
they were kind
image
of
wise.
ahead of the curve with that. And like his wife was really involved in like his business and stuff too. Like it's really like a joint business between them, which I think is really great. So like, yeah, a lot of people made it very unprofessional for them. But at the end of the day, like his wife is a retired pro athlete. She was like a professional tennis player. So she gave him the startup money for his idea. And it's just been like a joint effort the whole time. And it's actually kind of couple goals of that way. They're actually very sweet.
That's
Aw,
actually very beautiful. Yeah. And
that is.
was he like a nutty professor, like a flubber type of situation where he was just trying to like invent different things?
No,
And
it
then
was they have a documentary about them, so I feel okay sharing this information because they've already said it. It was because his wife had a high risk pregnancy with my best friend who is a twin at 40 unexpectedly. And so she had to be on bed rest for the whole pregnancy, and they're a very sex positive couple, so she was like, "You got to figure out something to do, man. I can't do anything for 9 months. Figure it out.
oh
Get creative."
Damn.
And that's how it got created.
damn, it's
I
literally
wanted to
like
ask that too. I was like, who's gonna say it? Me or Derek? Who's gonna ask that?
yeah.
That's
So
how
it
it
was
got created.
Love
born
it.
out of love. It was made out
Yeah.
of love.
And she
Oh,
looked
but-
at it and she was like, "Honey, this is a good idea."
I am so
Wow.
proud of you.
Is that goals or what? Like,
Yeah, seriously, it's
damn.
actually really nice. And as they've like grown the company and come up with new concepts and stuff, like it's always been a collaborative effort. So it's actually very, very cool.
Who knew
More
the fleshlight was
concepts?
so romantic?
It is very romantic.
Yeah. A whole catalog of just romantic products.
Yeah, honestly.
Back to Terrence Howard, though, because we kind of lost the plot here. In your professional opinion, do you think he solved the unified grand equation for the hydrogen molecule to provide water to Ghana or whatever that was that he was talking about? Do you know what I'm talking about?
I know what you're talking about. I didn't actually look at like any of his like tech for that, but I would be genuinely shocked if that were true, is all I can really say, just because I think if that were true, then not only would that be a major break in technology internationally, where like he made a lot of headlines talking about his patents. He would have made infinitely more headlines talking about his patents. He would, if he could figure out how to crack the code on water without desalination, he would surpass Elon Musk in wealth almost immediately, because that is one of the biggest emerging issues for like humanity is access
Water.
to clean drinkable water and like the privatization of water. So I feel like very skeptical of that.
Okay. Yeah, because I think you've convinced me that, or like you've helped me kind of solidify my idea that like he's probably smart. He's probably not
He's
dumb
no
guy.
dummy for sure.
Yeah. But is he this? What is it that you had used the term in your latest video? It's like he's not a genius. What is it? He's not a misunderstood genius.
Yeah, he's not a
just
misunderstood genius. He's a good strategic thinker. And that has a lot of benefit too, to be like, what do I think people are going to care about in 20 years? And then try and figure out like what's people's probably like 1, 2, 3, 4 solutions to that, and then try and create ownership of that in advance. That's smart, you know? But it's different than figuring out actually how to solve those problems, though.
Absolutely. 1000% I agree. Stefania, what do you think? You have anything to add?
No, this is new information to me, so I'm
You're
just
still trying to process the fleshlight
I'm
situation.
still trying. That's just really impressive. I'm just thinking about like all that we've talked about tonight, and just all of this has been just a learning kind of process.
You
I don't know.
see?
Yeah.
I feel like we learned a
love
lot
to
tonight.
learn.
We love to learn. We do. We never scroll past the learning videos, teaching videos on TikTok. Always
That's
watch
right.
them.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, I thoroughly enjoyed our conversation tonight of everything we talked about. I think it was really fun. Really,
Thank
really
you.
fun time.
I had fun too.
Yeah, it was all right, I guess.
Boo.
Derek, this for the girls. For the girls only.
Yeah. The masculine energy on this one was just not there, you know? It's this podcast went woke.
As it
More
should.
woke than it already was. Now I do have to ask before we wrap up here, right? Having the love of your life be in the actual NFL, but not in the superb owl game.
Right.
Who are you guys rooting for? Are you allowed to legally say?
That's a good question. Where usually I let Kylan lead those conversations if we're on live or something. He usually gets very cagey because people were asking who we want to win, and he was going, I don't know. So I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say. I will say that we know more people in real life on one of the teams than the other. And so for the people who know that we know them in real life, I'm rooting for you.
Wow. Spoken like a true lawyer's daughter.
Yeah.
My goodness.
Yeah. Try and
Well,
decipher that as much as you
Well,
can.
it's free agency right now, so it's like,
Yeah.
I can't show too many biases while we're negotiating contracts.
Absolutely. We're just in it really for the Kendrick Lamar performance, I think.
Truly.
I think a
Right,
lot of
Stefania?
people are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
He'll be
looking
the
forward
winner
to that.
regardless. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah. Oh,
he
yeah.
will win.
Absolutely. Now, Daisy, before we go here, let people know where to find you. We'll have all the information down in the doobly-doo, but where can people find you for your informational deep dive, extremely specific video?
You guys can find me for my very niche subjects on TikTok under Daisy Foko, Foko, Daisy spelled like the flower. Instagram, Days Foko, just drop the Y, same thing. And YouTube, Daisy Foko, same as TikTok. And now I'm on Threads a lot. I've technically had a Threads account for a while, but I've been live, laugh, loving on there in the last 2 weeks. So if you want to see me write quippy little anecdotes, then check that out. It's linked to my Instagram.
Quippy little quips for sure. And as always, you guys could find us on YouTube. Where is it? Instagram, Threads,
TikTok.
and TikTok. That's the other one. We're still scrolling exactly how it sounds, how it's spelled. Hopefully you know how to spell so you can find us and listen to us ramble along here for hours at a time. Thank you guys for listening. Daisy, we appreciate you so much. Thank you for stopping by and
thank you.
dropping the knowledge. Some knowledge that we did not want or expect, but we got it anyways. We appreciate you guys. Yeah. And for everyone tuning in, we'll see you next week.